In central Florida, two men tried their luck at catching a baby alligator from a pond when the nearby mother unfortunately decided otherwise. With the help of a net, one of the men approaches the water and manages to catch a baby alligator rather quickly. He attempts to seize control of it in order to show it to the camera when the unimaginable happened. The man attempts to comment on the situation, but the angry mother alligator is not done proving her point.
That says everything. Did you hear that little noise that you made? That. Get the out of here. We gotta get out of here, man.
Now seriously fearing for their lives, both men decide to quickly grab their gear and completely leave the area before anything bad happens. In Australia, a group of unsuspecting tourists had an encounter with a hungry saltwater crocodile that didn't quite go as expected. Everyone excitedly pulls out their camera after spotting the predator swimming toward their boat. In hopes to put on a show, the tour guide hangs a tasty piece of meat over the predator and tries multiple times to get its attention. What happens next is not what he expected.
And then they'll sort of stay away.
The tourists stopped recording and most likely went on with their day like normal. On a river in Florida, a man was out peacefully fishing on his paddleboard when a seemingly normal alligator encounter quickly turned for the worse. For the first half of the day, the man seems to be enjoying his time on the river and even manages to successfully catch a few fish. Unfortunately, things quickly take an unexpected turn when he spots an alligator swimming to his right.
Oh, alligator, you scared the piss out of me. Get out of here. Oh.
With the predator now coming towards him, he has no other choice but to fight for his safety.
Hey. Beat it, son. Holy you are ready to fight.
He attempts to paddle away, but the animal unfortunately refuses to back down so easily.
Bro, he is trying to square up. Hey. I swear to God, if you bite my paddleboard, I'll be pissed. Get out of here.
With the alligator now back underwater, the man grabs this opportunity and immediately paddles away while he still can. On a river in Texas, a man on a peaceful kayaking trip had absolutely no idea what he was getting himself into. At first, he appears to be calmly paddling down the river when the unthinkable happens. Although worrisome, he still decides to continue on his adventure, but very quickly regrets his decision. Unfortunately, the man stops recording and most likely paddled away from the area altogether. Danny and his buddies from the Swamp and Stomp YouTube channel are on an average duck hunting trip in Florida where they didn't really expect much to happen. After a few hours of successful hunting, they unfortunately spot a huge alligator eating one of the poor ducks that was shot down earlier. Since they were just about to leave anyway, the man filming tries to cross the swamp to get to his canoe on the other side. But the hungry predator refuses to let him go so easily. After his first warning shot, the man continues to walk back towards his canoe when he notices that the beast is unfortunately still following him. This is when he decides to shoot his second shot in order to really prevent the dangerous animal from coming any further. Thankfully, it gives up on its hopes for a nice meal and quits following him around. You can clearly see the impressive size of the alligator as he passes by it in his canoe. Let's just say that you wouldn't want a thing like that anywhere near you. A few men's peaceful canoeing expedition quickly turned into a nightmare when their seemingly average crocodile encounter became a life-threatening situation. While paddling on the narrow river, the man recording jumps in fear after spotting a huge crocodile head popping out of the water in the distance.
Oh, right there, big, huge.
He zooms in to capture the sheer size of the animal when it suddenly disappears back into the murky water.
It's coming around, it's coming around. It's coming this way.
The camera stops recording, and what happens next, sadly, remains a mystery. A group of tourists on a boat had their tour guide attempt to feed some hungry crocodiles when the unimaginable happened. After spotting the predators from the other side of the river, they decide to get a closer look and park the boat on the shore. Contrary to what most would do, the tour guide jumps in the water with a piece of chicken in his hands and tries to provoke the crocodiles to come closer.
Yeah, I got this.
He finally gets their attention and proceeds to bravely feed them from up close while the terrified tourists are forced to watch.
Wow, that's loud.
Now fearing for his safety, he jumps back on the boat, but still tries to continue the show. Unfortunately, the lady recording isn't at all ready for what's about to happen.
Are you still filming?
Yeah.
Feeling like they've seen enough, the group decides to start up the boat again and leave the crocodiles alone before anyone gets hurt. While kayaking in the Ugandan White Nile River, these unlucky tourists had to fight for their lives against a ferocious crocodile. As the clip starts, we see the men viciously beating the water's surface with their rafting paddles in an attempt to scare off the nearby predator. Believing that the animal is gone, the group of tourists stops hitting the water for a moment, but quickly regret their decision. When the paddle gets lost in the struggle, another member of the group quickly hands him another one to continue the fight.
Sorry, it's okay? No, that's all good, dude. Nice one. That big. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Oh my.
Luckily for the tourists, the crocodile backs down and swims away, leaving them to celebrate their victory. Near a river in Brazil, a group of friends had a seemingly average crocodile encounter, unfortunately, take a very sharp turn. Initially, they try to maintain a rather safe distance from the predator as it begins crawling up from the water up ahead. Nothing seems out of the ordinary as they simply stand there looking at the animal when they suddenly look behind them.
Aí outro ali, ó.
Opa!
Fearing for their safety, they all quickly begin backing up as the hungry crocodile starts walking right in their direction.
Se nós não vamos. Ah, eu que tava aqui, ó.
With the animal staring them down, the group of friends just stands there observing it and eventually stop recording altogether. While fishing for tarpon in a Florida Keys golf course, a man received the greatest heart attack of his life when he least expected it. In the beginning, all seems well, and the fisherman goes about his business seemingly undisturbed. Out of nowhere, the camera turns to the right, and things take an extremely sharp turn. Hidden in the grass a few feet away from the man is a huge alligator waiting to attack.
All right, well, that's a crocodile over there, so I'm gonna get out of here.
After spotting the predator, the frightened fisherman immediately takes off running, but eventually comes back to show off the predator to his viewers from a distance.
Here's the crocodile. It's lying on the ground like a crocodile would. Not sure, he probably sees us.
Having seen enough, he thankfully leaves the area completely to continue fishing somewhere else. An Australian man was out with some friends near a remote river in hopes to have some fun. Having tied a rope to a tree branch, he gets ready to swing himself into the seemingly safe waters. What happens next might shock you. The crocodile thankfully missed its bite. Now under shock, the man immediately swims back to shore and gets out of the water as fast as he can. I have no doubt that this day scarred him for life. While biking down a trail in Florida, a man came across a huge alligator that unfortunately didn't seem too happy about having a visitor. After spotting the predator from a distance, the man begins to sneak up on it from behind in hopes to get some interesting footage.
Christ, he's big. And he's not afraid of me at all, because he's so big. I can't even pass him on the trail. Come on, move.
Now, just a few feet away from the enormous animal, he attempts to scare it off the trail.
Wonder what he's doing out here. Come on. Move. Move. I don't know if gators are known for their hearing ability.
With the alligator still completely unfazed by his presence, the frustrated man becomes a little more aggressive with his tonality.
I know these things can turn around like really fast. Now it's hissing at me. It's pissed. Go on. Arr.
Now, desperate for a solution, he decides to try something different.
All right, I gotta touch him. It's preordained I've gotta touch a massive alligator. Go on, gator.
Not trying to risk his safety any further, he decides to walk back to his bike and proceeds to carefully ride past the predator. Near Grand Harbor, Texas, YouTuber Jordan Armacost decided to bring his dog Arya on an exciting kayaking trip. Little did he know those waters were unfortunately infested with hungry alligators. While calmly paddling around the lake, the man immediately pulls his dog away from the ledge as he spots the head of an alligator poking out of the water, probably waiting for its chance to snatch poor Arya away.
Arya, come here. Arya, come here. Come here. Come here. I for real think that was a gator right there.
He attempts to leave the area, but is once again forced to pull his dog back after seeing another gator head.
You better stay on here, girl. Sit down. Sit down. Oh, all right, stay. Stay. F***ing A.
Now seriously fearing for his and Arya's lives, he turns the kayak around and paddles as fast as he can away from those dangerous predators. I hope he doesn't go back there with his dog anytime soon. YouTuber Carson Rudd and his friends were on an average walk in nature when they spotted a large alligator that ended up being a little too curious. Not expecting much, they calmly walk around the park for a few minutes when they eventually come across a murky river. Rather quickly, one of the boys spots an alligator to the right and bravely crouches near the edge of the river in hopes of getting its attention.
He loves vibration. Back up, back up, back up.
Dude, you better back up.
Now just inches away from the alligator, the man for some reason remains in place as the curious predator suddenly begins crawling up towards him.
Dude, he's right there next to that freaking alligator. Literally 3 feet away from him.
Not wanting any more trouble, they all thankfully decide to walk away completely and go back to their car. A wildlife facility, an unsuspecting man realized he was being stalked after spotting a sneaky Nile crocodile staring at him in the water. In hopes to get a reaction, he decides to provoke it by throwing a stick in the water.
Crouching down is very stupid near the water's edge.
Thankfully, it decides to spare him and simply walks back into the murky river. Australian YouTuber Last Cast Louie and his friends were out fishing some barramundi when they caught something that absolutely no one expected. After finally finding the right spot to fish, one of the guys almost immediately catches something that seems unusually heavy.
Yeah, good fish. Good fish. What do you got? What? Bro, that's big. What just happened? What just happened? Big. Is it kicking? It just kicked and then just stopped.
They eventually begin seeing bubbles floating to the top, which leads them to unfortunately suspect the worst.
Look at the bubbles.
Oh, that's a cross.
Oh, look at the bubbles, man. Bro, no, don't pull it up. Don't pull it up. Don't pull it up. Holy shit. Look at that! Oh, bro!
Having likely ate the fish that was originally caught, the crocodile now has the fishing lure completely stuck in its mouth. Refusing to risk hurting the animal, the boys decide that they will attempt to cut the fishing line as close to the mouth as possible.
Holy man.
Understandably proud of themselves, they simply move on with their day like nothing happened. This intense clip starts out with this man recording his surroundings before rope swinging into the water below with his camera in hand. For a few seconds, all seems well, and the swimmer continues to record the clear water until this happens. Immediately, the frightened man quickly swims to shore and is luckily able to escape just in time. YouTuber John Meslin and his son Cameron were at their local pond trying to have a fun fishing session, hoping that everything would go as planned. As Cameron catches his first fish of the day and tries to proudly show it off to the camera, You can already begin to see the ripples in the distance from the approaching hungry alligator.
And it was on its, oh crap. It was slipping out of my hands, and so it's heavy.
Thankfully, the kid turns around at the last second and notices the incoming danger. I think they both know what would have happened if they hadn't spotted the predator in time. On the Adelaide River of Australia, an expedition took a sharp turn when a courageous tour guide tried feeding one of the largest crocodiles in the country from up close. The tourists turn on their cameras as the man can be seen splashing his tasty piece of meat attached to a long pole in the water to attract the crocodile's attention. The hungry predator takes the bait and slowly swims towards the river's edge, where the guide continues to put on a show by teasing the animal with his pole. Now dangerously close to the boat, the guide carries on with his display by baiting the crocodile with more meat when things start getting a little unsafe. The video unfortunately ends there, and the tourists, most likely, just went on with their expedition. In Oak Island, North Carolina, a group of wildlife and police officers got locked in a face-off with a 10-foot-long alligator and tried to capture it. Watch how things play out. When the camera starts rolling, we see the animal on a very long leash being pulled out of a residential area by 3 officers.
I mean, what the heck? Did they just come out? And the gators in their yard?
While the animal does its best to escape, the men continue to pull it, and when they have it where they want it, they head over to their car to retrieve a huge metal container.
Looks like he's got something in his mouth.
Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking too. Oh no. Yeah.
After retrieving the container, the brave cops are once again forced to battle it out with the predator that refuses to go down without a fight. Eventually, the highly professional experts manage to contain the reptile, and they transport it to their vehicle with hopes of reintroducing it to the wild. A cameraman paid the price for venturing a little too close to an impatient crocodile. This nerve-wracking clip starts out with a tourist behind the camera spotting a crocodile resting on the shore and taking an interest in it. In hopes of getting a closer look, the person behind the camera takes a few steps closer, thereby startling the predator and leading to a horrifying event. The clip ends abruptly during the attack, so what happens next is unclear. On the edge of a river in Costa Rica, a group of tourists witnessed something jaw-dropping when their courageous tour guide tried feeding a hungry crocodile with his own hands. Before anything, the tour guide taps the record button and then casually walks up to the riverbank in hopes of attracting the crocodile's attention. Everybody then sees the head of a crocodile poking out of the water as the courageous man starts feeding it some pieces of meat. With the huge predator right in front of him, the tour guide, for some reason, stays just inches away from its mouth as it keeps staring him down. Everyone on board spends the next few moments observing the crocodile, but the guide eventually starts walking to the boat and stops recording. Australian YouTuber Last Cast Louie and his friend decided that it was a perfect day to go out and catch some fish. After arriving on an island, they begin looking around in hopes to find the perfect spot. Eventually, they come across a remote billabong and decide to settle there for the day. After multiple attempts, they finally manage to catch a fish, but unfortunately struggle to get it out of the water safely.
Leon's hooked up to a barra. Decent size. Don't snap that, don't snap that. Drag it along. Walk it. We've got to be so careful of crocs right now. If we're not careful, there's going to be a croc that's going to come and grab us soon.
As Louie approaches the water to grab the fish with a stick, you can clearly see the head of a terrifying crocodile poking out and staring them down. Still, thankfully unharmed by any of the predators, they put the fish back into the water and try to catch a few more. A few minutes go by when Louie spots the bubbles of a crocodile swimming in their direction, most likely waiting for its chance to attack.
Just there. I don't know if you can see the bubbles. I'll try to zoom in. There's definitely a croc making its way across here, straight towards us. So creepy.
Luckily, they both realize that staying there is too risky and decide to call it a day. I can't even begin to explain how lucky those two got. While boating around somewhere in Indonesia, two locals came across a huge crocodile that unfortunately didn't seem to be in a very welcoming mood. Initially, the video starts off after one of the men spots and decides to approach a huge crocodile up ahead, lying harmlessly in its nest. Many minutes go by without anything crazy happening as the locals remain in their boat right next to the predator, all while casually having a conversation.
Masih dirayu Rizkanya.
Sini ayammu. Makan dulu yuk.
Masih merem loh.
Eventually, though, things suddenly take a dangerous turn when this happens.
Nah, turun bro, cocok.
Luckily for them, the crocodile seems uninterested in the men and swims away in the murky river. A YouTuber, Blue Gabe, was out setting crawfish traps with his kids when he got a little too close to a seemingly safe swamp. Not expecting anything bad to happen, they go about their day like normal and manage to successfully place some traps in nearby ponds, all the while avoiding any trouble. At some point, they come across a little swamp and decide it might be a good spot to place a trap as well.
So I think I'm gonna come over here and put this trap right here, which is a little shallow, but I wanna just put it right there. What the, oh my God! You think I'm joking? My drone's right there watching me. We never knew she was there.
Still in shock, he thankfully manages to retrieve his trap safely and proceeds to move around the puddle in hopes to locate the alligator with his stick.
I just rubbed the stick the whole length.
She must be tucked up in that back corner.
Oh God! There she is.
Now, fearing for his kids' safety, he decides that it'd be better for everyone if they went on with their day somewhere else before anyone gets hurt. While canoeing down a river, a girl is stunned by a rather bizarre interaction between her brave ferryman and an enormous crocodile. At the start, the journey is pretty uneventful, but as soon as the pair spot a humongous crocodile approaching at an alarming speed, things take a more interesting turn.
Laju banget. Laju banget. Kenapa, Kang?
Di sana. Ayo, Bapak, ayo.
Dideriskan ya, habis berjemur.
Upon reaching the canoe, the predator turns around and appears to start swimming away, but unfortunately comes back a few seconds later to grab a snack.
Cuapin dulu. Nah, teman-teman, berkat doanya teman-teman juga mungkin ini. Tadi kami ke muara ini memang menuju ke tempat Putri. Nah, sekarang sudah bertemu.
The brave man continues to feed the huge animal with his bare hands for a little while when things take a chilling turn.
Masih makan.
After exhausting his basket of meat, the ferryman bids his newly found friend goodbye and continues his journey. In Silver Springs, Florida, two men on a calming kayaking adventure regretted paddling so close to a huge alligator. At first, they spot what seems to be a younger alligator minding its own business to the right of the boat. They simply pass by it like normal and proceed to look to their left. For some reason, the man decides to lower his camera into the water right next to the predator. He thankfully manages to pull his hands out safely and proceeds to film the enormous beast as it unfortunately begins approaching their boat. Fearing for their safety, the men decide to slow down the paddling and simply let the alligator swim ahead on its own. On a river in Florida, two siblings rented a kayak in hopes of having a relaxing day when the unimaginable happened. At first, everything seemed to be going perfectly as they both appear to be enjoying their time paddling around the water. Unfortunately, things take a rather sharp turn when the man recording spots something lurking in the water near them.
Oh, I'm touching him. Oh, that's awesome.
Luckily for them, the alligator didn't seem to want any trouble, but they still decide to paddle away, just in case. At Buffalo Bayou in Texas, YouTuber The Fish Whisperer and his friend were out fishing some catfish when they caught something that no one would have expected. Initially, everything seems to be going according to plan as they manage to catch a fairly large one and proudly show it off to the camera. Eventually, they move to a completely different spot of the river and go on with their business when the man recording suddenly catches something that seems unusually heavy.
Oh, that's a big cat. Giant catfish. Oh my god. Freaking gator. Oh my gosh. That's like a 7-footer.
Confused about what to do next, he pulls the gator towards him and attempts to film it from closer to capture some interesting footage.
Gosh. God, that's crazy. Pull it back up one more time. Ooh. There's our dinosaur for the weekend.
While discussing their potential options, something unexpected suddenly happens to the fishing line.
Got a little... Well, he broke me off. Look, he bit through that. That's crazy.
They thankfully manage to escape that situation unharmed and simply move on with their day like normal. The group of friends ended up being the unfortunate target of a rather large and aggressive alligator. Initially, they begin recording after spotting the predator poking its head out of the water right next to their boat motor.
Look at the size of that guy. Oh my god!
Trying to avoid any confrontation, they attempt to drive away from the alligator when it, unfortunately, decides that it won't let them go so easily. Still shocked by what's happening, the men continue to drive around for a little bit when the animal once again decides to come back for more.
Go, Mike. Mike, go.
Go!
That is huge.
Finally, the alligator decides to leave the men alone, and they simply drive away completely.